بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الأولين والآخرين وحبيب رب العالمين. We ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to grant us the sincere intentions for His sake alone. Today, inshallah, we're going to start speaking about Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam, who is also known as Moses, upon him be peace. Allah Ta'ala mentioned Musa alayhi salam by name the most compared to all of the other prophets. He was mentioned the most by name, Musa alayhi salam. Allah revealed in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واذكر في الكتاب موسى إنه كان مخلصا وكان رسولا نبيا. Allah revealed in Surah Maryam, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, recite to the people from the Quran about Musa alayhi salam, so that they would ponder upon it and learn from what he alayhi salam experienced. Indeed, Allah eternally chose Musa alayhi salam for prophethood and messengership. You're going to see in the story of the life of Musa alayhi salam so many different things. There is him standing up to the unjust people. There is Pharaoh. There are the signs that came to Pharaoh. There was the drowning of Pharaoh and his army. There was the betrayal of some of the people who, after seeing the miracle of the parting of the Red Sea, they started to worship the golden calf that they had produced. There are so many things in the life of Musa alayhi salam, and he is the third best of all the prophets. So his story, and there are so many of them, we'll try to mention them in chronological order, insha'Allah. Whenever we mention a part of the story, insha'Allah, we'll try together to consider the messages or the lessons that can be learned from that particular matter or that experience and event, insha'Allah. This is why Allah revealed in the Quran, Allah commanded in the Quran for Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam to tell the stories of the Quran. Stories are very powerful. Stories contain wisdoms, lessons, they contain guidance, they contain solace and comfort for people who are suffering hardships when they look at the hardships that others had to face. Sometimes a person thinks as though they think that this hardship has never occurred for anybody before me. What a difficult situation I am in. Then they hear an ayah of the Quran, they hear a detail in a story about someone who lived in the past, or a large number of people in the past who suffered loss, death, illness, betrayal, and so on. So a person seeks solace in that which is mentioned in the Quran among stories. So Musa alayhi salam, his great-grandfather, of course, was Prophet Adam alayhi salam, and he also went back to Nuh alayhi salam. But then his great-grandfather, his great-great-great-great-grandfather, many generations above him, was Khalilullah Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam. He had a son, of course, as you know, known as Ishaq alayhi salam, the Prophet of Allah. He had a son known as Yaqub alayhi salam, the messenger of Allah, as you know. He had 12 sons. These 12 sons, among them, 2 of them were prophets, Yusuf alayhi salam and Binyamin. The other 10 did not reach prophethood because they did very bad and evil, lowly, despicable things to Yusuf alayhi salam. And they treated their father in a way that is not a way that a person would behave if they were to become a prophet. No, so the other 10 brothers, they did not receive prophethood, but from their lineages, from their grandchildren and so on, there were people who attained prophethood. So you had Yaqub alayhi salam, also known as Israel alayhi salam. He had his Banun, he had his children, they were Bani Israel. Among them was Lawa. These are the Arabized forms of their names. Lawa, he was the son of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. He had a son called Qahath. Qahath. He had a son called Yashur. He had a son called Imran. And he had a son called Musa alayhi salam. He had two sons at least, Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam. So Musa alayhi salam and Harun, they are the sons of Imran, who was the son of Yashur, the son of Qahath, the son of Lawa, the son of Yaqub, the son of Ishaq, the son of Ibrahim, alayhim as-salatu was-salam. And like this, the other prophets that came after Yaqub alayhi salam, they came from the lineages of these brothers. Among them was Prophet Isa alayhi salam, who is said to have among them is Prophet Isa alayhi salam, and Prophet Dawood, Prophet Sulaiman, as you know, Musa and Harun, and many others. They came from these 12 brothers. They came from their lineages. Perhaps hundreds and thousands of prophets came from this side. And from the other side, from Ishaq, or from Ismail rather, alayhi salam, came Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, maybe 2, 3, or 4,000 years later, after Ismail alayhi salam. So, we have Ibrahim, then we have Ishaq, we have Yaqub, we have Lawa, Qahath, Yashur, Imran, then Musa alayhi salam. Just seeing if I got that right. Yes, I did. See, I memorized it, just that. Okay? Let's see how you do. I'll mention it 2 more times. See how you do. How are you feeling? Okay. So, Ibrahim alayhi salam, this part is Ibrahim alayhi salam. Okay, his son Ishaq alayhi salam. Everyone with me so far? You should be. Okay. Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ishaq alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam. Okay. Next is his son, Lawa. Okay, registered? Save it. Lawa. Okay. Yeah? Okay. So you had Yaqub alayhi salam, Lawa. Who was next? Qahath. So Qaf, Alif, then Ha, and a Tha, like Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha. Qahath. If you were to write it in English, you might write it Q-A-A, H-A, and then a T-H. Qahath. Who's next? So, Yaqub alayhi salam, Lawa, Qahath, and then Yashur, Ya, Sad, Ha, Ra. Yashur, Yashur. Then we have Imran. And Imran, he is Abu Musa alayhi salam. He is the father of Musa alayhi salam. Imran and then Musa. So I'll try without looking, inshallah, and you can see if I get it right. Then maybe, we can do it together. So I'll try. See, I'm putting myself on the spot now. Huh? Okay. Ibrahim alayhi salam. He had a son called Ishaq alayhi salam. He had a son called Yaqub alayhi salam. He had a son called Lawa. He had a son called Qahath. He had a son called Yashur. He had a son called Imran. He had a son called Musa alayhi salam. Got it right, yes? Yeah, I did. Okay. Now we'll do it all together. Okay? See, I'm not going to pick you out individually. See how you are on a Wednesday when it's a scorching day and you feel like you're at your wit's end. Okay? See how you do. You can whisper it if you like. Okay? Let's do it. Okay. Ibrahim alayhi salam. His son Ishaq alayhi salam. His son Yaqub alayhi salam. His son Lawa. His son Qahath. Qahath. His son Yashur. I'm focusing too much on you. His son was Yashur. His son Imran. His son Musa alayhi salam. Okay. We're going to go the other way. Try not to look. Musa alayhi salam. His father is Imran. His father is Yashur. Yashur. See, conversely we're going. So Yashur, his father was Qahath. His father was Lawa. His father was Yaqub. And then his father was Ishaq. His father Azar. Anyway, okay. Well done. MashaAllah. Look at that. Even though you're very, very tired, and it's probably the last thing that you're going to do, that requires, one might say, a bit of brain power today, and then you go to sleep after that, right? MashaAllah, you still got it. Okay. I'll ask you at the end. See where the brain power is then, inshaAllah. Allah revealed in the Quran, in Surah Al-Qasas, نتلو عليك من نبأ موسى وفرعون بالحق لقوم يؤمنون. Allah revealed to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam that Jibreel alayhi salam comes and recites to you, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, the story, the naba' of Musa and Pharaoh with certainty, بالحق. For a people who believe. That the believers, the Muslims who never saw, at that time, the companions, they never saw Musa alayhi salam. They never saw Pharaoh. But the Prophet recited these verses and told these stories, لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ, for a qawm, for a people, the companions, who believed. And us also, we come under the people who believed. So Pharaoh, the situation, at the time of Egypt was that different pharaohs, different fara'ina, they ruled over Egypt. So a pharaoh is a title. Pharaoh is not a name. Pharaoh is like saying king. So different pharaohs, they ruled over Egypt at one point in time. And this particular Pharaoh, which concerns us and is involved in the story of Musa alayhi salam, the sources, the scholars, they say his name was Al-Walid ibn Mus'ab. This is what is mentioned in the history books. And what the scholars mention in the explanations of the ayahs of the Quran. They say his name was Al-Walid ibn Mus'ab. So where does Ramses II come from? Nowadays, Ramses II is the person whom it is said that was the Pharaoh at the time of Musa alayhi salam. Is Ramses a title, or is that how they named the person at that time and the scholars gave him another name? Allah knows best. But we do believe that the corpse that is said to be the corpse of the Pharaoh at the time of Musa alayhi salam that has emerged recently, then we believe that that is actually him, that was him. Allah revealed in the Quran that his body would reappear. His body would reappear. Allah revealed in the Quran, فَالْيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ. On the day that Allah, literally it says, saves you, meaning preserves your body and makes it clear to the people. Now imagine at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, already 4,000 odd years had passed after Pharaoh drowned. So 4,000 years on, after Musa ﷺ, after Dawood, after Sulaiman, after Hizqeel, after all these prophets, after Isa ﷺ, Prophet Muhammad came ﷺ, and he recited these ayahs, فَالْيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ بِبَدَنِكَ. Allah will preserve your badan, your body, Pharaoh's body. فَالْيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ بِبَدَنِكَ لِتَكُونَ لِمَنْ خَلْفَكَ آيَةً. So that you, O Pharaoh, will be a great sign of the power of Allah, a proof of the great power of Allah for those who come after you. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, his body had not yet emerged. 4,000 years approximately had passed and his body hadn't emerged. Now, approximately 1,400 years later, or 1,300 years later, his body emerged and it was found. And the people confirmed this is the body of the Pharaoh that lived at the time of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. So we got to saw in these times the confirmation of that which was mentioned in the Quran, that there will be a day where your body will show up again. Allah revealed, فَالْيَوْمَ, on the day, نُنَجِّيكَ, that Allah will save your body, that Allah will show to the people your body, بِبَدَنِكَ, your actual badan, which means your body. Why? So that you would be an ayah, a great sign of the power of Allah. For whom? لِمَنْ خَلْفَكَ, for those people that come after you. So this actually happened. We'll go into more detail about it, inshallah, when we get in the story to the point where Pharaoh dies. Allah revealed in the Quran, إِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ عَلَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَهَا شِيَعًا يستضعف طائفة منهم يذبح أبناءهم ويستحيي نساءهم إنه كان من المفسدين. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in this ayah gave an overview of the situation of Pharaoh. He was unjust and arrogant. He transgressed the bounds of justice. He was someone who was drowning in pride, and that made him forget about the fact that he is a slave of Allah, a creation of Allah. His injustice was known in Egypt, and this was his kingdom, his dominion at that time. He had split them into many different groups to divide and conquer, and they all obeyed him. He kept some of them close and others distant. And under his oppression, the people of Bani Israel, they were tortured and punished. The original people of the land were the Coptic people. Al-Aqbat or Al-Qibt. These people, they were the original inhabitants of the land. What happened at the time of Yusuf alayhi salam, when he came to Egypt, and we mentioned his story, didn't we? When he came to Egypt and he became in a high position and would distribute the different grains to the different people, and he was trusted. He called for Yaqub alayhi salam to come from Palestine and his brothers to bring their families. So many people migrated from what was known as Bayt al-Maqdis, and is still known as Bayt al-Maqdis today, but the area of Palestine, they came from there to Egypt. So Bani Israel, the sons of Yaqub, the 12, with their wives, with their children, they mass migrated from that area to Egypt. So now where are Bani Israel? They were in Egypt. Then many years passed. Look at that, 5, 6 or 7 generations passed. Okay? Yaqub alayhi salam, Lawa, Qahath, Yashur, Imran, Musa alayhi salam. All the 5 or 6 generations of Bani Israel. Okay? And of course they married and had children, and each one of them became a tribe. Lawa had a tribe. Yusuf alayhi salam had a tribe. Binyamin alayhi salam, his lineage, they had a tribe. The 12 brothers, each of them had a tribe. There were about 600,000 of them in the time of Musa alayhi salam. That's a lot of people. Bani Israel. So what did Pharaoh do, and the different pharaohs that came? They enslaved Bani Israel because they were not original inhabitants of the land. They were foreigners. They came from Palestine. So the original Coptic people, the inhabitants of the land, they became the ones that were considered honorable. They put themselves on a pedestal and they enslaved Bani Israel, all of them. All of them were enslaved. All of the 12 tribes, the great-great-great-grandchildren of the 12 sons of Yaqub alayhi salam. 600,000 of them. They worked for Pharaoh. They built things for him. They did jobs for him, and so on. They were considered to be the lower class. And they were enslaved unjustly. Of course. So Allah revealed in the Quran that Pharaoh, he would slaughter the children of Bani Israel, and likewise he would do with their women. It was a bad state. Allah Ta'ala revealed, وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَّمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ. Allah eternally willed that He would have great favor upon those who were victims of the injustice, the weaker group. And that Allah willed that they would become leaders one day, whom people would follow in the good. This is an indication of the prophets that would be born into Bani Israel. Isn't it later on that the Bani Israel, who were the Muslims at the time, they would later on go on to defeat Goliath, and they would go on to destroy the armies of the enemy. وَنُمَكِّنَ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنُرِيَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ وَجُنُودَهُمَا مِنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَحْذَرُونَ. Allah willed that they would take hold of Egypt and the lands of Asham. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala would show Pharaoh and Haman. Haman was the general of Pharaoh, the leader of the army. Allah would show them and their great armies what they feared. And what they feared was the destruction of their kingdom at the hands of someone who was born into it. It has been mentioned that this Pharaoh, this Pharaoh, ruled Bani Israel, enslaved them for 400 years. He would periodically murder the children, the young children, and he would take the women, and he would use the men for the disgusting jobs. He would use some of them for cultivating crops, which is not disgusting, of course, but for other disgusting things, he would use them. And he would take like a tax from them. The reason why he did that was, so Pharaoh, he was strict, right? Because he felt that he was better than those people because he's originally from that land, among the Coptic people. One day, Pharaoh had a dream, and he saw that a fire has emerged from Bayt al-Maqdis, from Jerusalem, and that it spread to the south, and it overcomes and engulfs Egypt, and that it engulfs all his kingdom to ruins. So he woke up and he asked the soothsayers and the magicians. He said, he summoned them. So when they got summoned, of course they were afraid, wondering what is going to happen. Why has he summoned us in the middle of the night? So when they came, he informed them of his dream. And he said to them, what do you think it means? So they gave their opinions, and they pretty much agreed. They thought that this means that someone will come from the people whose origin is that area, Bani Israel, who are under your control right now, who you have enslaved unjustly. Someone from among them will be your end. Someone from among them will put an end to your dominion. Someone from among them will destroy your reign. Remember what he'd seen? He'd seen a fire that burned down the houses of all the Coptic people who had assumed themselves better than Bani Israel. So he said, what do you think I should do? They said, simple. Whenever a child is born to one of them, kill him. So Pharaoh, he set out the highest order. He put out this order that every child that is born to a woman from Bani Israel, from the foreigners, the non-Coptics, then that child should be slaughtered. He then called upon the midwives to strategically wipe out these newborns. He summoned the midwives who were talented in their midwifery, who were known for that. And he said to them, whenever a child is born to one of Bani Israel, kill him. And he ordered his soldiers also that they would periodically raid the houses of Bani Israel. And if they heard the cry of a child, of a newborn, then they would slaughter this child. Allah revealed in the Quran about Pharaoh, يُذَبِّحُ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُمْ. Pharaoh ordered his soldiers to search for the young boys of Bani Israel so that they could kill them. The newborns and the young, and the children that were running around in the street and playing games and so on, to kill them. They would wander the streets and they would hurt pregnant women from Bani Israel. Until some women, they would make them walk on sharp items that they had. Pregnant women who were with child, they would make them walk on something particular that they had. They had like hooks on it. They would make them walk on it, and they, from the stress, from the pain, from the anxiety and the irritation, many of them would miscarriage. Many of them would lose their child. It is mentioned that in total 90,000 children were murdered like this by Pharaoh in search of that child that would be the end of Pharaoh. 90,000 children. That's 90,000 children born into Muslim households at that time. So a point came where the Coptic people came to Pharaoh and they said to him, "We understand you had a dream, but take it easy, because you're killing off the young, so no one's going to grow up and be older to serve us, and the old are dying out anyway. So that ratios, that percentage is not really working for us. The stakes are not looking good for us. So why don't you alternate? Murder 1 year and take a year off. Murder 1 year and take a year off." Now these are serious things. Serious. Subhanallah. Like sometimes, don't you hear that sometimes people in the past, whether in the distant past or the not so distant past, they will do injustice and then they'll say, "We're calling a ceasefire for a couple of months." So this situation, it should not come as a surprise to any one of us, that this is something that happened. We're seeing nowadays in front of our eyes things that are similar to this. So these matters, they were very real. So women, imagine a woman, she's never had a child before and she's pregnant. Imagine that. They burst into her house, they find out she's pregnant, and there are reports of them stabbing the woman in her womb. In Arabic they say يَبْقُرُونَ النِّسَاء. يَبْقُرُونَ النِّسَاء, which means to butcher even that person. And usually that woman then would not survive. Like that, some women would try to hide their pregnancy. Subhanallah, if you look into history, you find situations like this, even in the nation of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Read about what happened to the Muslims in China. Read about what happened in Spain, when many people were slaughtered. Muslims, they were threatened, become a Christian or be slaughtered. So these matters are very real, and history, they say, repeats itself in different forms. It repeats the idea, the concepts are the same. So the intelligent one is the one that learns from history and isn't naive. Harun alayhi salam was born in a year which was the year of pardon, in a year when there was no slaughtering. And then Musa alayhi salam was born. Between the two of them was about 3 years. Musa alayhi salam was born in one of the years of slaughter. For this reason, the mother of Musa alayhi salam, she took great caution while she was pregnant. And her pregnancy, of course, did not appear at first, but as it progressed, she became very fearful of being caught. Again, this is something that happened so many thousands of years ago. But still, even in our times, things like this happen. In this nation, when the Mongols, they came and they ransacked Baghdad and some of the Muslim lands, they killed about 2 million Muslims. And that was in this nation. That was a huge calamity. It's mentioned that Musa alayhi salam, when his mother, and she managed to hide her pregnancy for a long time until the very end also, when she finally felt that it's time, when she went into labor, it said that she went to a woman that she knew, a midwife that she knew who was her friend. And she gave birth to Musa alayhi salam. And then this woman, when she saw Musa alayhi salam, her situation changed. She told the mother of Musa alayhi salam that I had in my mind that as soon as you give birth to this child, I will betray you. I will take this child to Pharaoh and I will present him to him, and I will get on the good side of Pharaoh. He will provide for my family. He will reward me in some way. But she said, when I looked into the eyes of this child, something overcame me. I realized this is not an ordinary child. As though there was a light emanating from the eyes of this child, which changed my situation. So, of course, this was Musa alayhi salam, who would grow up to be one of the highest ranking messengers of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So her situation changed, and immediately love for this child entered her heart. She said that I have found love for this child in my heart that I have never found for any child before. So protect this child. This child is special. When the midwife left, the soldiers of Pharaoh entered. Just after the mother of Musa alayhi salam had wrapped him in a piece of cloth. And out of sheer desperation, she put him into a place just outside the house where nobody would be able to see him out of fear. She just put him there and left him there. The soldiers, they came in and they did not find anything. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala revealed in the Quran, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ وَلَا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي إِنَّهَا رَادُّوهُ إِلَيْكِ وَجَاعِلُوهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala created within the heart of the mother of Musa alayhi salam a feeling, a strong feeling that the pious people get. It's not revelation, but they get a feeling that something is a certain way. And usually it is like that. So she was inspired in this way to breastfeed the child, to breastfeed Musa alayhi salam, which she did. And that if ever she was afraid, she knew inside herself, intuitively, she knew that she was not to fear, because Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala would protect this child. But she was always under the threat of somebody finding out. The neighbors hearing, the soldiers passing by, the soldiers barging in, and so on. So she formed a basket of wood. And she would put Musa alayhi salam in it whenever the soldiers would come close. She would put Musa alayhi salam in it, and her house was on the bank of the river Nile. So she would put him in it and tie a rope to the basket and tie the rope to something that she had studded into the ground. A long rope, and she would let it go. She would let it go. When the soldiers came, she would do that. So the child would go down the river with the current. And then when it reached the extent of the rope, it would stop. Baby in basket. The soldiers would pass by, and then she would hurry outside her house, to the back of her house, and she would pull the rope in. Pull the rope in, hoping that her baby is still there. Look at what a mother would do for her child. Every time the mother's heart beats, thinking, maybe I've lost my child. La ilaha illallah. So she would pull him back. Every time she did that, she would find her child there. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala revealed in the Quran, إِذْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّكَ مَا يُوحَىٰ أَنِ اقْذِفِيهِ فِي التَّابُوتِ فَاقْذِفِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ فَلْيُلْقِهِ الْيَمُّ بِالسَّاحِلِ يَأْخُذْهُ عَدُوٌّ لِّي وَعَدُوٌّ لَّهُ. When she feared Pharaoh and his men, she prepared a basket and filled it with cotton and put her child in it. And she tied the basket with a rope and placed it in the Nile, which was near her house. She would breastfeed the child every day, and if she feared that the men of Pharaoh were close, she would do as Allah had created within her. She would put him in the basket and tie the other end of the rope to a part of the riverbank and let the basket flow down the river. She would wait until the men had gone, and then she would immediately go and reel the basket in. Then one day, when she felt that the men were approaching, she put the child in the basket, and she was used to it, so she let the basket flow, but she forgot to tie the rope to it. La ilaha illallah. Imagine that moment when she realized. You know, the Nile is huge. Some parts of the Nile, it's like 6 miles from one bank to the other bank. It's huge. Allah informed us in the Quran that the basket, the tabut, was taken by the Nile to a part of the land. Allah informed us that an enemy would take Musa alayhi salam. Allah revealed, as I recited, يَأْخُذْهُ عَدُوٌّ لِّي وَعَدُوٌّ لَهُ. An enemy, one of my enemies, Allah revealed. One of my enemies would take Musa in. عَدُوٌّ لِّي one of the enemies of Allah, وَعَدُوٌّ لَهُ, and one of the enemies of Musa alayhi salam, would take him in. Allah revealed in the Quran, فَالْتَقَطَهُ آلُ فِرْعَوْنَ لِيَكُونَ لَهُمْ عَدُوًّا وَحَزَنًا. The waves took the basket until it reached the palace of Pharaoh. At that time, some youngsters were bathing near the riverbank. They saw the basket and they took it. Oh, what's this? Let's see what's inside. Thinking that it would be full of riches. And Pharaoh was sitting there near a pond at the time when the basket approached. So next to the river, near a pond. It was carried then to the wife of Pharaoh, Lady Asiya. Lady Asiya radiyallahu anha. And you can say alayha salam. She was from Bani Israel. And she was a pious woman. She was someone who was, of course, married to Pharaoh. In the past, it was permissible for a person, for example, like Nuh alayhi salam, to marry a woman that was a non-Muslim. This was, the rules change, of course, in the nation of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. This is also allowed but restricted to a Christian or a Jewish woman. And like that, there are other rules. But in the past, so this happened where there was a Muslim woman, she was with a kafir, with Pharaoh. So Pharaoh, he ordered the basket to be opened up. And yet, Lady Asiya had not given Pharaoh a child. They could not open the basket. They tried and they tried and they tried. It is only when Lady Asiya drew closer to the basket and she tried to open it, and for her suddenly it opened up. Allah revealed in the Quran, وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِّنِّي وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَى عَيْنِي. Allah informed us that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala had eternally granted Musa alayhi salam his acceptance. So this was an accepted slave of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So she looked at this baby lying there with a light between his eyes. And this caused whoever saw him to love him, like that woman that saw him when he was born. When she opened that basket, she saw a beautiful child. Allah planted the love of Asiya for this child in the heart of Asiya. When Pharaoh approached, immediately he said, kill him. What is this? Child shows up in a basket, kill him. He already had in his mind that this must be from this child, this boy, must be from Bani Israel. But Lady Asiya protected the child. She said to him, don't kill him. Some scholars even said that she was barren, she was infertile, she wasn't able to have children. So a child came that's abandoned like that. Of course, this is an opportunity for her to be a mother, or a type of mother. So Pharaoh took him in. She said, عَسَىٰ أَن يَنْفَعَنَا أَوْ نَتَّخِذَهُ وَلَدًا. She said, don't kill him. I hope that he would benefit us and we could even take him as a child, she said to Pharaoh. It was said that Pharaoh had a daughter from another woman. and that she was suffering from leprosy. And when this girl, his daughter, when she saw this baby, when she saw Musa alayhi salam, she was cured from her leprosy. So the people of Pharaoh, they told him, this is the one upon whose hands your demise will be. So they advised, they said, kill him. Pharaoh wanted to execute him, but his wife, she said what I mentioned, that perhaps he would benefit us, or we would take him as a child. One matter here that's important to mention is that actually no, we'll mention that next time, inshallah. So we'll stop here today, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll mention more about the story of Musa alayhi salam and what happened next. It's a very, very interesting story. So far, just to review, we've spoken about the time that Musa alayhi salam was born into, what the history was, his birth, and how he ended up in the hands, let's say, of his enemy, Pharaoh. Next time, inshallah, we'll continue in that regard. Today, we didn't have enough time, I just realized, that we didn't have enough time to mention going through the different matters that we go through with regards to the invalidators of the prayer. That's where we reached. Inshallah, we will make time for that next week, inshallah ta'ala. We'll continue the story of Musa alayhi salam next Wednesday. Let's stop here for now. Let's say La ilaha illallah and as-salah ala nabi. La ilaha illallah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Ya Rabb.